Some seasons do not arrive with noise. They do not break the door open. They do not announce themselves with a clear sign, a sudden miracle, or a voice from the sky telling you exactly where to go next. Some seasons come quietly. They sit beside you in the middle of your uncertainty, in the long nights when you keep asking why things feel delayed, why your prayers feel unanswered, why your efforts seem invisible, and why the path that once felt so certain now feels covered in fog. Maybe this is where you are right now, not completely broken but tired in a place that is difficult to explain, still showing up, still trying, still hoping, but secretly wondering if the universe has gone silent. And if that is true for you, I want you to stay with this, because silence does not always mean absence. Sometimes silence is the language of realignment. Sometimes what feels like being forgotten is actually the moment when your inner world is being prepared to receive what your old self could not yet hold. Joe Dispenza often speaks about the connection between thought, emotion, and the state of being we repeatedly return to. In simple terms, you may be asking for a new life while your body is still emotionally tuned to the old one, and the universe may not be ignoring you. It may be inviting you to understand the frequency beneath your fear. So before you decide that nothing is happening, pause. This phase may not be punishment. It may be guidance arriving in a form your anxious mind has not yet learned to recognize. You are not alone in this season. There is a particular kind of loneliness that does not come from having no one around you. It comes from feeling unseen by life itself. You may have people who speak to you every day, messages on your phone, responsibilities waiting for you, and a routine that keeps moving, yet somewhere deep inside, there is a quiet ache that says, "I am walking through something no one can really understand." This is the kind of loneliness that often appears during a transition, when the old version of you no longer fits, but the new version has not fully arrived. This is why the phrase "you are not alone" must be understood with depth. It is not a soft sentence meant to cover pain with comfort. It is a spiritual truth that becomes visible only when you stop measuring support by immediate outcomes. The universe may not always guide you through obvious signs, open doors, or sudden relief. Sometimes it guides you through discomfort, through delay, through the strange feeling that something inside you can no longer continue living the same way. At first, this can feel like abandonment. You keep doing what you believe is right. You pray, visualize, meditate, work, forgive, wait, and try to remain patient. Yet the external world seems unchanged. No clear answer arrives. No major breakthrough appears. The same uncertainty continues to breathe beside you, and because your human mind was trained to associate movement with proof, you may begin to believe that stillness means failure. But stillness is not always empty. In nature, the seed spends its first season underground. No one applauds it. No one sees the pressure, the splitting, the invisible movement beneath the soil. If the seed had a mind conditioned by urgency, it might think nothing was happening. But beneath the surface, its entire structure is being rearranged. What looks like darkness may be the exact environment required for a deeper form of growth. This is how certain phases of life work. They do not give you immediate evidence because their purpose is not to impress your fear. Their purpose is to mature your perception. When you are in a season of inner realignment, the universe may begin removing what once distracted you, delaying what your nervous system is not ready to hold, and revealing patterns you used to mistake for personality. It may show you where you confuse love with attachment, faith with control, patience with passivity, and manifestation with emotional escape. Joe Dispenza often teaches that the body can become addicted to familiar emotions. This means that even when your conscious mind wants peace, abundance, love, or direction, your body may still be rehearsing fear, disappointment, urgency, and lack. You may say you trust the process, but your inner chemistry may still be living as if danger is near. And this is not something to judge yourself for. It is something to observe with honesty, because awareness is where the first door opens. The universe may be guiding you through this exact awareness, not by giving you everything at once, but by showing you the emotional state you keep returning to. The delay may be revealing your impatience. The closed door may be revealing your attachment. The silence may be revealing how often you search outside for a certainty that must first be built within. This does not mean you caused every difficulty in your life. It means that your response to difficulty may become the doorway through which a new frequency is born. There is also a hidden tenderness in this season. You are being asked to stop treating your pain as evidence that you are behind. You are being asked to stop comparing your timeline to someone else's harvest. Some people bloom in public and break in private. Others appear delayed while they are quietly developing roots strong enough to hold a life that will not collapse at the first storm. So if life feels silent right now, listen differently. Not with desperation, but with presence. Notice what is being removed, what is being repeated, what is becoming unbearable, and what keeps calling you back to yourself. The universe may not be absent. It may be speaking through patterns, pauses, endings, and inner discomfort. And perhaps this phase is not proof that you are lost. Perhaps it is the sacred interruption that finally teaches you how to hear. The universe may be speaking through a frequency you have not understood yet. There are moments when life does not seem to answer your questions, but it keeps repeating the same feeling. You wake up with a heaviness you cannot name. You move through the day doing what needs to be done, but something inside you feels slightly out of place, as if your soul is standing in one room while your body keeps walking through another. You may call it confusion, tiredness, anxiety, or lack of motivation, but sometimes what you are feeling is not random. Sometimes it is a signal. The universe does not always speak in dramatic signs. It does not always send a perfect coincidence, a clear dream, or a sudden opportunity that removes every doubt. Very often, guidance arrives as a repeated inner disturbance. A relationship starts feeling too heavy. A job that once felt secure begins to feel spiritually expensive. A habit that used to comfort you now leaves you empty. A conversation that once seemed normal suddenly reveals how much of yourself you have been abandoning just to remain accepted. This is where many people misunderstand spiritual guidance. They expect the universe to give them a map, but the first form of guidance is often friction. Not punishment, not rejection, friction. The feeling that the quiet discomfort that grows whenever you continue betraying what your deeper self already knows. And because this kind of guidance does not arrive with beauty at first, people often resist it. They say, "Why is everything becoming so uncomfortable?" When the deeper question may be, "What part of my life have I outgrown, but I am still trying to carry?" In the language of frequency, your life begins to feel heavy when your external choices no longer match your internal evolution. You can keep smiling, keep performing, keep saying the right things, and keep maintaining the image of stability, but your nervous system knows when you are no longer in alignment. Your body knows when your peace is being traded for approval. Your chest knows when a yes should have been a no. Your energy knows when you are staying somewhere out of fear, not devotion. This is why the guidance can feel confusing. The mind wants certainty before it moves. The soul often moves first and lets certainty arrive later. The mind asks for proof, guarantees, timelines, and visible evidence. The soul speaks through expansion and contraction, through lightness and resistance, through the subtle difference between fear that protects you and fear that imprisons you. Learning this difference is one of the most important parts of spiritual maturity. Joe Dispenza's work often points to the way repeated emotional states shape the body's expectation of reality. If your system has become used to disappointment, it may interpret calm as suspicious, opportunity as unsafe, and silence as abandonment. This means that even when the universe is guiding you toward a new direction, the old emotional pattern may try to pull you back into familiar pain. Not because pain is your destiny, but because familiarity often feels safer than transformation. So the signal may not come as a voice saying, "Go there." It may come as a loss of appetite for what once consumed you. It may come as a strange peace after a door closes. It may come as exhaustion whenever you pretend to be someone you no longer are. It may come as repeated delays that force you to stop rushing towards something your spirit was never truly aligned with. These are not always easy signs, but they are honest ones. Imagine a compass that has been placed near a strong magnet for many years. It still works, but its direction has been distorted. In the same way, trauma, fear, urgency, and old disappointment can magnetize your inner compass towards survival instead of truth. The universe may be guiding you, but your interpretation may be filtered through wounds that expect loss before love, failure before support, and rejection before redirection. This is why this season asks for a deeper kind of listening. Not the frantic listening that searches everywhere for confirmation, but the quiet listening that notices patterns. What keeps draining you? What keeps returning? What feels peaceful even if it scares you? What feels heavy even if it looks perfect from the outside? These questions do not force the future. They reveal the frequency you are already living inside. And perhaps the answer you have been waiting for is not a sentence. Perhaps it is a sensation repeated until you finally honor it. Perhaps the universe is not withholding guidance from you. Perhaps it has been speaking through your body, your resistance, your longing, your fatigue, and your unexpected moments of clarity. You are not lost because you do not understand everything yet. You are being invited to learn a subtler language, one that does not shout over your fear, but waits patiently beneath it until you are ready to hear. When delay becomes protection, there is a kind of delay that feels cruel when you are inside it. You keep waiting for the message, the opportunity, the healing, the answer, the sign, the arrival of something that would finally prove your life is moving again. Every day that passes without visible change can feel like another small confirmation that you have been left behind. That when the twos stosing through, and when your heart is daughter and lul persistos. But not every delay is denial. Some delays are the hidden architecture of protection. They are the quiet spaces where life prevents you from entering rooms that would have cost you your peace, your clarity, or your future self. At the time, you may only see what did not happen. You may only see the opportunity that disappeared, the relationship that became distant, the plan that collapsed, or the timing that did not obey your hope. But sometimes what did not happen is carrying a mercy you cannot yet measure. The human mind struggles with this because it wants evidence immediately. It wants to know why something was removed before it can accept the removal. It wants the reason before the surrender, the explanation before the peace. Yet many of the most important forms of guidance only become clear after distance. A door closes, and at first it feels like rejection. Months later, you realize it kept you from shrinking yourself to fit a life that was never truly yours. This is where the universe often guides without announcing itself. It may not say, "I am protecting you." It may simply make certain paths heavier until you can no longer ignore the weight. It may allow a delay to stretch long enough for your motives to become visible. It may interrupt what your ego wanted so your deeper self can finally breathe. And while that can feel painful, it can also be the beginning of a more honest life. Think of winter. On the surface, winter looks like nothingness. Branches are bare, fields are quiet, the world seems paused, almost asleep. But beneath that stillness, roots are preserving strength. The tree is not failing because it has no leaves. It is surviving in a rhythm that does not need to impress the eye. In the same way, your life may be in a season where growth is not visible because the work is happening in the root system of your being. Joe Dispenza often describes transformation as becoming conscious of the unconscious patterns that have been running the body and mind. Delay can reveal these patterns with uncomfortable precision. It can show you whether your faith depends entirely on fast results. It can show you whether your peace disappears the moment life stops confirming your plan. It can show you whether you have been asking the universe for guidance while secretly demanding control. This does not mean you should romanticize pain or pretend disappointment does not hurt. It does hurt. There are seasons when waiting feels exhausting, when uncertainty sits heavily in the chest, when the absence of answers makes even simple tasks feel harder. Spiritual maturity does not require you to deny that ache. It invites you to hold the ache without letting it become the only interpretation of your life. Because while one part of you may be grieving what did not happen, another part may be learning discernment. You begin to notice that not every attractive opportunity carries alignment. Not every open door is sacred. Not every delay is a sign that you are unworthy. Sometimes delay is the pause that protects you from building a future on the foundation of an old wound. The ego wants speed because speed feels like certainty. The soul often values depth because depth creates stability. If everything arrived the moment you wanted it, you might receive it from the same emotional state that once made you lose yourself. You might enter the new chapter with the old fear, the old desperation, the old need to prove your worth. And then the blessing itself could become another place where you abandon your peace. So perhaps this pause is not empty. Perhaps it is refining the part of you that used to confuse urgency with intuition. Perhaps it is teaching you to recognize the difference between a desire that comes from wholeness and a desire that comes from panic. Perhaps the universe is not moving slowly. Perhaps it is moving carefully around a future that requires a calmer, clearer, more grounded version of you. One day you may look back at this delay and see that it was not a wall. It was a threshold. It did not keep you from life. It kept you from entering life too unconsciously. And when the next door opens, you may not rush through it with fear. You may walk through it with a different presence, knowing that what was delayed was not always lost, and what was removed was not always meant to destroy you. Sometimes the universe guides by giving, sometimes it guides by withholding, and sometimes its deepest protection is the answer you only understand after you have become strong enough to receive it. Your inner compass is learning a new direction. There comes a moment when the question changes. At first, you may ask, why is nothing happening? Then, after enough silence, enough waiting, enough endings that did not make sense, another question begins to rise from a deeper place. What is this season trying to show me? That shift may seem small, but spiritually, it is enormous. It means you are no longer looking at life only as something that must obey your desire. You are beginning to see it as something that can reveal your inner alignment. This is where connection with the universe becomes practical, not passive. It is not about sitting still while life chooses everything for you. It is not about abandoning action or pretending that every event is automatically sacred. It is about developing a more honest relationship with your own inner signals, because sometimes the universe does not guide you by changing the external situation first. Sometimes it guides you by changing your capacity to perceive what has been in front of you all along. Your body often knows before your mind is ready to admit it. It knows when you are forcing a door. It knows when your smile is only a mask for exhaustion. It knows when your ambition is being driven by fear instead of purpose. It knows when a place feels impressive to the world but spiritually heavy to you. And although the mind can create explanations for almost anything, the body carries a quieter intelligence. It tightens, it softens, it expands, it withdraws. It gives you small messages long before life gives you large consequences. This does not mean every discomfort is assigned to leave, and every peaceful feeling is assigned to stay. Human emotion is more complex than that. Fear can appear near a genuine calling, just as comfort can appear near an old cage. But when you begin listening with patience, you start noticing the difference between fear that protects you and fear that keeps you small. One feels like a warning from wisdom. The other feels like a wall built by old pain. Imagine an inner compass that has been carried through storms, disappointments, betrayals, and years of trying to survive. Over time, it may begin pointing toward what is familiar instead of what is true. It may call chaos chemistry, scarcity normal, overgiving love, and exhaustion discipline. This is why reconnection often begins with recalibration. You do not need to condemn the compass. You need to understand what magnetized it. A simple morning can become part of this recalibration. Before reaching for the phone, before absorbing the world's noise, before letting other people's urgency enter your nervous system, there is a small sacred space where you can return to yourself. A hand on the chest, a slow breath, a moment of asking, not with panic, but with sincerity. What am I carrying today that is not mine? This is not a performance. It is not a ritual to impress the universe. It is a way of becoming available to your own truth. Then throughout the day, signs begin to look different. They are not only numbers, symbols, dreams, or perfectly timed coincidences. They may be the exhaustion you feel after betraying your boundaries. They may be the strange lightness that comes after telling the truth. They may be the repeated conversation that reveals a pattern you have avoided. They may be the unexpected calm that follows a closed door. They may be the quiet thought that returns again and again, not as obsession, but as invitation. This is how your frequency begins to change, not through forced positivity, but through coherence. You stop saying yes while your whole body is pleading no. You stop calling fear intuition just because it is loud. You stop asking the universe for direction while ignoring the small ways direction has already been arriving. Your thoughts, emotions, choices, and actions begin to move closer together. And when these parts of you stop fighting each other, your life starts receiving a clearer signal. Neville Goddard spoke deeply about the state one occupies within. In a practical sense, this means the inner posture from which you live matters. If you occupy abandonment, you will interpret delays as proof of rejection. If you occupy trust, not blind trust, but grounded trust, you can interpret the same delay as information, protection, or preparation. The event may be the same, but the state changes the meaning you are able to perceive. So this chapter of your life may not be asking you to force a miracle. It may be asking you to become less divided inside, less pulled by old wounds, less addicted to external confirmation, less willing to abandon your peace for a path that only looks successful from the outside. And as this happens, the universe does not become louder. You become more available. You begin to hear the guidance that was hidden beneath anxiety, urgency, and the need to control every outcome. Perhaps your inner compass is not broken. Perhaps it is simply learning a new north. And maybe this new direction will not feel familiar at first, because truth often feels strange to a nervous system trained by survival. But if you keep returning to presence, honesty, and quiet alignment, you may discover that the universe was not asking you to chase the path. It was teaching you how to recognize the one that already carries your name. Perhaps this season was never meant to destroy your faith. Perhaps it was meant to refine it. Not the kind of faith that depends on immediate answers, constant signs, or perfect outcomes, but the quieter kind that survives uncertainty without abandoning itself. The kind that learns how to remain present even when life feels unclear. You may still carry questions after this moment. You may still wonder when things will finally shift, when the waiting will end, or when the path ahead will become easier to understand. But something important changes when you stop seeing yourself as abandoned by life and begin seeing yourself as someone being slowly awakened by it. The delays begin to feel different. The silence begins to feel different. Even your pain begins to reveal a deeper intelligence beneath it. Joe Dispenza often reminds us that transformation begins when the body is no longer emotionally attached to the past. And Neville Goddard spoke about the inner state becoming the lens through which reality is experienced. Together, these ideas point towards something profound. The universe may not respond only to what you ask for. It may respond to who you are becoming beneath the surface. So if this phase has felt lonely, heavy, or confusing, let this remain with you tonight. You are not disconnected from the universe simply because you cannot yet understand the language of this season. Some guidance arrives as peace, some arrives as endings, some arrives as delays that quietly protect your future, and some arrives through the slow awakening of the person you were always meant to become. There is one question that may stay with you long after this video ends. If the universe has been guiding you all along, but through a language you never learned to recognize, how many moments in your life were actually signs instead of setbacks? Maybe the silence was not empty. Maybe the delay was not punishment. Maybe this entire season has been preparing you to hear yourself, your intuition, and your deeper path with more honesty than ever before. If this message resonated with something deep inside you, stay connected to this journey. Subscribe to the channel and continue watching the next video on your screen, because the path of transformation is not built in one moment. It unfolds layer by layer, realization by realization, until one day you look back and realize the person who once felt lost no longer exists in the same way. And perhaps that is the real beginning.